In this lesson, we're going to talk all about how to start using your left hand. We know our string numbers, 1 through 6. We know our fret numbers and how to figure out those. And if you don't remember that, make sure you go back to the guitar anatomy video at the beginning of this whole course and you'll get a refresher. But we'll also talk about that a little bit in this video too. So if you don't remember, it's totally fine. We'll get into that too. So we have finger numbers too. Our left hand if you are playing a right-handed guitar, or the right hand if you're playing a left-handed guitar. Most of us will be playing a right-handed guitar, so I'll be saying left hand a lot, but if you are playing a left-handed guitar, just know that it'll be your right hand. This is whatever hand you are using to press down the strings on your guitar. So for a right-handed guitar, it's a left. So your left hand is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So your pointer finger's number 1 and then all the way to your pinky number 4. Our thumb is not numbered because we're using it behind the fretboard to help our fingers press down the strings. Now let's talk about how to place our fingers and hand on the fretboard so that we can get the best sound with the least amount of struggle. All right, so let's try this out. First, you want to make sure your fingernails are short on the hand that's going to be playing on the fretboard, because we're going to be using the tips of our finger. It's harder to access the tip of your finger when your nail's long because the nail kind of blocks that and makes it harder to use. So we want to practice using the tips of our finger because when we get into chords especially, we really want to be able to do that. Also, it's easier to keep your fingers out of the way of other strings when you're using the tips of your fingers. So that's a good habit, a really good habit to start off. When we place our finger in the fret, we're going to want to clamp down with our thumb. So want to make sure it's just your thumb, not any other part of your hand on the back. Also, you don't want your thumb to be way over. So when you're playing, sometimes the thumb wants to just peek around. And I mean, there are chords and stuff that, you do, reach your thumb around and use it to play on the strings. But if you are not purposefully trying to use your thumb to play a string, tell it to just go take a break in the back. So that's 2 things you don't want your thumb to do. Also, when you place your finger inside the fret, so, first finger, first fret, first string, when we place it inside the fret, so this is the fret here. We want it to be behind the fret on the fretboard. So this is the fret right here. We want it to be behind the fret, so farther away from the body of the guitar, inside the space on the fretboard. You want it to be as close as you can to the fret without being on top of it. When you're on top of it, it sounds like this. It doesn't sound very good. When you're in the right position, it's going to come out clear. You don't want your finger to be on top of it like this because it sounds not so good. Right behind it in the right position, yeah, beautiful sound. You also don't want it to be too far over to your left because you're going to have a buzzing sound, or you have to press super hard. Like I'm pressing super hard to get it out, and you don't want to have to work too hard to get out your notes because you don't have to. Why work hard if you don't have to? It's easier to press down. You don't have to press down as hard when you are right behind the fret. Plus, it's a good habit to be in because when you get into playing chords, or if you get into soloing, or whatever you're getting into, just getting into the habit of being in the right position will help you be better, play faster, and just have the sound better and not have to struggle so hard to get out notes. So you're just make sure that your fingers are in the correct position. Playing in front of a mirror can help, or, just tilting your guitar back because it is hard to see when it is up, but you can tilt it back and go, okay, am I doing this right? And then tilt it up to then play the string. Sometimes people, just because sometimes we, want to use our finger pad when we're pressing. So using our finger pad, technically you can get out the strings when you use your actual finger pad and not the tip of your finger, so, farther down. So technically you can get out strings that way, but when you go to play chords, your finger will get in the way of the strings, and also you will have to press a lot harder to get the strings out because this is such a soft part of your finger, it's harder to kind of get it to press the string down onto the board, because that tip of your finger is hard enough that you don't have to press as hard to get out the note. So it's just going to be better and easier overall. Take my word for it. Just make sure you're using the tips of your fingers, and you'll notice after you're done playing, you'll have little grooves where the string was, and you'll know, okay, I'm playing in the right spot on my finger. Awesome. So why don't we do that right now? Just take your first finger, put it in the first fret on the first string. Make sure you're using the tip of your finger. Make sure it's placed in the right spot in the fret, and then take your right hand and strum only the first string. So make sure your right hand is in the right spot. It comes out beautifully. If you hear that sound or that sound, then make sure you check it out, adjust as needed until you get that beautiful sound out. Make sure you're pressing it down enough so that your string is hitting the fretboard. The goal is to press the string down so that it is completely touching the fretboard. Your finger is touching the string and the fretboard. And then you play to get it out. If you feel like you're pinching so hard, because sometimes we feel like we have to press a lot harder than we do, try backing off a bit and seeing if your finger is still in the right position and still getting out that note clearly. If you have a muted sound still, make sure one of these fingers aren't in the way, because sometimes these fingers, because we're not used to keeping them out of the way, they're usually together. When they're hanging out and in everyday life, they're usually just together. They're not used to working separate in a lot of ways like we're going to be doing. So they sometimes want to go with each other. That's one of the challenging things about guitar, is you have to teach your fingers that they can do things on their own. And so make sure too that these fingers are out of the way. You can have them like this or like this, but I'd rather have you just kind of keep them ready like this, because for the next exercise we're going to do in the next video, we're going to need our fingers ready to do the next thing. Make sure that your other fingers are out of the way and that you're pressing down hard enough, not too hard, but hard enough that you're getting that note out clearly and your fingers in the right position. And then you're ready to play your first exercise with the left hand in the next video.